Rolling and dodging are two popular mechanics usually found in games like Assassin's Creed or other games that use a lot of parkour mechanics. In today's video we are going to learn how to create a basic system like that, which should look great if you have nice animations. And also in this tutorial we are going to use root motions animations, so if you don't know what that is, I suggest taking a look into it, though I'm going to explain that also in this video. Okay, so before learning how to create this, let me show you the final result. The first thing that you can see is my weird character, which cannot walk properly to the right and to the left. And that is because the animations, and this is intended so I can show you the animations better. So if I'm going to keep pressing D and then space, I'm going to roll to the right. If I'm going to do the same thing but with the button A, it is going to roll to the left. If I'm going to keep W pressed, I'm going to roll in forward. If I'm going to press S, it is going to roll backwards. If I'm not going to press anything, but only space, I'm going to automatically roll forward. And now, if for 0.17 seconds I'm going to double press my spacebar, I'm going to dodge. Okay, so let's see if I can get this right. As you can see. So you need to do it real quick, and by quick I mean really quick. But one thing that you can do is to perhaps set an option in which you can set how fast you want to reset this, so every player can set its own amount. So for me right now it's 0.17 and that is really quick, but of course you can set like a slider which can go from 0.5 to 0, and make sure that you got this right so you're not going to annoy anyone with the timing. Okay, so the dodging is just as the rolling. If I'm not going to press anything and double press, I'm going to dodge forward. And of course, for S, A and D, I'm going to dodge in their respective directions. Okay, and now that I'm done showing off the mechanic, let's see how we can create it. So the first thing that you will need to do is to make sure that you have good animations, that are not stuttering, that are smooth, and that they have root motion. If they're not going to have root motion, there is no way this is going to work. Okay, and my animations are from the rolls and dodges pack that Epic gave away last month, and I believe it's still free right now. But if by any chance the pack is not free anymore when you're watching this tutorial and you want animations, you can also use Mixamo. There are some pretty good animations. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is to go in rolls and dodges, animations and root motion, make sure that they are root motion. Select all of them and we will need to retarget. If you don't know how to retarget animations, then go on and document yourself on these, because right now I'm not going to explain everything for the retargeting. Basically you will have to make sure that these skeletons are having the same humanoid. Okay, let's take a look in the actual skeleton. I can explain this better. So if you're going to go in the skeleton and go to window and get here the skeleton, the retarget manager, you can see here select trig humanoid. You'll need to make sure that both have this selected and then set each bone to its corresponding for the skeleton. And then you will be able to retarget animations properly. So select all of them, right click, retarget animes assets. Okay, this one, and then we will need to select our mannequin, then retarget, and now they are all going to be retargeted. But of course, right now, I don't think they have root motion. So here we will need to enable the root motion, but there are so many animations and it would be a waste of time to wait to open each one and search for root and set it to be true. What we can do is to once again select all of them, right click, asset localization, asset action, then go to bulk, edit via property matrix, then go to root motion here and enable root motion, then go to file and save. So now all of them are going to have the root motion enabled, root position I think it's here, should be the reference pose. Okay, and now all of them are ready to go. One thing that we can do to check if this is working or not is to go in one of these, then go to character, animation, and then go to process root motion and take this. And now you can see that this is going to keep going and then at some point it is going to reset itself. And this means that root motion is working. And there's one more thing that we have to do in our animation blueprint. So let's see if I can find it. Mannequin, animations, third person and MVP. Okay, and in here we will need to go and change an option. Let's see. Okay, here in the anime preview editor, go to root motion and you'll need to set root motion to be root motion from everything. I think by default it's root motion from montages only, but you need to make sure that you have this for everything, because our animations are not montages, right? So they're not the same thing. Now let's see how we can set up our blueprints. The first thing that we have to do now is to go into Edit, Project Settings, and then go into Input. Here we will need to create a new action mapping so we can access input for some buttons. I'm going to call this roll/dodge, and the buttons are going to be spacebar and 4 more. This one is going to be W, the next one is going to be A, right here, then S, and then D. Okay, now let's go into our blueprint character and get here roll/dodge, the input action. The first thing that we have to do is to get key and check if this is equal to spacebar. If this is true, we are going to do something, and if this is not, we are going to do something else. But we are first going to start with false. What we'll have to do is to store the last key that was pressed before the spacebar in a variable. So let's go to key, promote this to a variable, and I'm going to call this last pressed key. Now let me explain why we have to store this. So when we are going to press A, which is an input for this input action, the key here is going to be A. But if we are going to keep A pressed and then press S, the key is going to be replaced by the last button that we pressed, that being S. And now in our case, if we are going to press S and then we are going to press space, the last key is going to be space, so we cannot access this one. We will need to have the S keys stored somewhere, and that is going to be in this variable. Okay, and if this is true, we are going to increment an integer. So let's create it, and I'm going to call this movement state. This is going to be an integer, as I said. Let's compile, and by default this should be 0. Let's get it and let's increment it. So basically every time we are going to press the spacebar, we want to put the movement state to be itself +1. And I just noticed I didn't spell this correctly, so movement, actually I did. Okay, so we want to increment it here, and then we are going to have a retrievable delay. Now you might ask, what is the difference between a retrievable delay and a normal delay? So let's read a little bit the documentation. So for the retrievable delay, perform a latent action with a retrievable delay specified in seconds. Calling again while it is counting down will reset the countdown to duration. Okay, and then the normal delay, perform a latent action with a delay specified in seconds. Calling again while it is counting down will be ignored. So the second part is going to be the difference. If we are going to call this delay twice, it is going to get resetted the second time. Okay, I'm going to put here 0.17 because I found that this works the best for me. And after completed, we are going to have here a sequence. From then 0, what we want to do is to check the value of our movement state. We are going to check if this is bigger or equal to 2. And if that is true, we are going to set the movement state to be 2. And this might seem redundant, but it ain't. Why we are going to do this is because if we are going to spam, let's say, spacebar 4 times in 0.70 seconds, we want to set the movement state, which is going to have the value of 4, to be 2, because we are going to use a switch on integer a little bit later, somewhere around here, which will only have the values for 1 and 2. So we cannot use 4. Okay, and now what we'll have to do is to make here a branch, and we will need to get our last pressed key, get player controller, and then check if input key is down. So is input key down. The key is going to be our variable, and if this is false, we are going to set the last pressed key to be an empty set. And if this is true, we are not going to do anything yet. And now let me explain what this does. So basically, if we are going to press A, and then we are going to let it go, the variable is not going to get resetted. It's still going to store the A button in it, but even though we pressed A and we let it go, and then we press any other button but WASD, it is still going to be stored in there. And that's where we want to check if this is still pressed or not, because we might press A and then press space, which means that we are going to want to roll. But we want to roll forwards because we have no other button pressed, right? But if our variable still thinks that our A is pressed, it is going to roll to the left side, not in front, right? So that's why we have to check if this is still pressed or not. Okay, and then from true and from the set, we want to have here a switch on integer. Okay, the selection is going to be our movement state. And then we are going to set the start index to be 1, and let's add 2 pins. So for 1 and 2, because that's the values that these can take. Okay, now we will need to set how we want to react to our last pressed key. So let's see how we can do that. And what we want to do now is to see if we want to use 1 or 2 for the dodging or rolling. And in my case, what I want to do is to use 1 for rolling and 2 for dodging. So for from 1 we are going to have a switch on string, and here we will need to have the following cases. We will need W, A, S, D in this exact order, and the selection is going to be the name of our key, the name of our last pressed key. So we are going to get the variable, and you cannot search for get string or whatever, you cannot just plug this in selection. What you have to do is to get name, which is going to get an F, it's going to get a text, right? And this is going to go straight in selection, and it is going to convert to string. Okay, and now let me explain why we are going to do this. So let's say that the last button that we pressed is W, and we are still holding it, and then we are going to press space. We will want to roll forward. That means that we want to set a variable, which we are going to create in a second, to be a value that the engine is going to know that we want to roll forwards. And then the same goes for all the buttons. And if we are not going to press any of these, or the F string or the string here is not going to be equal to WASD, we are going to have here the default pin, which is going to go in W as well. So as I said, let's create a new variable, and I'm going to call this play dodge/roll. And this is going to be an integer as well, default value 0. Okay, and let's get 4 sets for the same variable. Let's just plug this in here for the moment. Okay, and now let's see what value we want to set for each of them. Once again, don't forget the default value, the default pin goes in W. So, we want to set for the W1, for A we want to set 2, for S we want to set 3, and for D we want to set 4. Of course you can set here whatever you want, you can even use strings, but I find it easier to use integers. Okay, and now let's copy all of these, because we will need to do the same thing for the pin 2. Selection, once again, the string from our get key display name, but this time we will need to change the values of our variable. Instead of 1, we are going to have 5, so basically we are going to continue from 4, so W5, A6, S7, and D8. Okay, let's drag this here a little bit. And now before closing this blueprint, let's get from both 1 and 8 2 sequences. Okay, so what we'll have to do here is from then 1 we will need to reset movement state, and then we are going to have here a delay. Let's copy this for now. Okay, now we will need to see what duration should be for both of these delays. So for rolling, I found that 0.7 works good, but of course rolling is slower than dodging, so the animation is going to be longer. That means that for dodging we will have another value, and I found that 0.3 is a pretty good value and works well. Okay, and after 0.7 and 0.3 seconds have passed, we will set the play dodge roll to be 0 once again. So basically we are going to reset it. Okay, and now we can close this down and go into the animation blueprint from our character. First we are going to go in the event graph, and what we'll do is to go here at the end, and we are going to cast to third person character. Then we are going to try get pawn owner, and this is going to be the object. Usually you want to have try get pawn owner instead of get player character or get player pawn. This is a little bit safer for the blueprint animation. And if this cast succeeded, that means that we can access its variables. So we are going to get play dodge roll, because this will have the biggest impact on what animation we want to play, whether it be a roll or dodge and what direction. Then for variables, we're going to create a new integer, and I'm going to call this animation to play. So variable type integer, and we are going to set this to be the play dodge roll. We're going to set animation to play to be the play dodge roll variable. Okay, and now I believe the last thing that we have to do is to set here all of our states. So let's drag all of these further because we will need a lot of space here. So let's add a new state, and I'm going to call this roll, and we will need to have transitions both ways. Now let's copy this once again. So let's see if we can copy with the transitions as well. It seems that we cannot. So we will need to do this 8 times, because we are going to have 8 animations, 4 for rolling and 4 for dodging. Okay, make sure that you have all of these transitions correctly. Then we will need to get a new state. So add state, instead of roll, we are going to have dodge. Okay, and once again, 4 more. Now we only have to set the transitions. Now we are going to set the animations inside all of these, but before doing that, let's rename these for their corresponding animation so we know which one is which, and we are not going to get confused. So roll underline F for roll forward, roll underline B for backwards, okay, L for left and R for right, then dodge here underline F for forward. Once again, it's basically the same thing. Okay, and for this one left, and for the last one this is going to be R for right. Now let's set the animation, so we will need to go and double click on this right here. So we are going to get an output animation pose. In the set browser we will search for roll, and now we will need to go roll and search for forward root. Get it in here and plug it in the result. And the same thing for all of these. For backwards we want to get the first one. Okay, left here roll, left root. Okay, right root. And now we will do the same for dodge. Instead of roll we are going to search for dodge, and we are going to get a forward root. Make sure that you do not mess up these animations. Really important to get them right, because then you might wonder why it is not working and you might waste a lot of time, but of course we do not want to do that. So if you're going to pay attention now, you're going to get this right. Okay, and now if you're going to compile, you're going to see that here you're going to get a lot of errors, and that is because now we have to set the transitions. So first we're going to set the transitions from these states to the idle and run. What we have to do is to get animation to play, and this should be equal to 0. So copy this and then do the same for all of them. Make sure that you do not get the wrong transition, and you always get from a state to the idle run rule. Okay, this one as well, the next one and the last one. And now this is the part where you have to pay attention really close, because now we are going to see when we want to dodge forward, when we want to roll forward, backwards, left, right, and whatever direction. So let's go in the transition from idle run to roll forward, and here we will play the same thing once again, but this time this is not going to be 0, this is going to be 1. Because roll forward, if you're going to go back into our blueprint, here you can see that, so 1 rolling, and for W this is going to be 1, which means forward. Okay, now let's go to roll backwards. This is going to be 3, because if you're going to go here and look at S, you can see here 3, S is for backwards. Then for left, this is going to be 2, because that is going to be A, which is right here. And then for right, this is going to be 4. The same thing goes for the others. Now here we want to set 5, not 1. Then we want to set here 6. Make sure that you do not mess up the numbers. Okay, the next one is going to be 7. And then the last one for right is going to be 8. Okay, so let's see if this is working or not. Let me arrange this a little bit so they look a little bit better. Let's compile. And there's one more error. So it seems that I forgot something here. Roll right to idle run. Okay, so this one. So let's just play and see if this is working or not. So if I'm going to press space, I'm going to roll forward exactly as intended. If I'm going to double press it, I'm going to dodge forward. If I'm going to keep pressing S, I'm going to roll backwards. If I'm going to press it twice and then keep S pressed, I'm going to dodge backwards. Let's try the same things for for A and D. So I'm going to keep pressing D, and I'm going to roll to the right. If I'm going to double press it, I'm going to dodge, as you can see. So it seems that this is the animation. Okay, and then for left, that means A, I'm going to roll this way again. And then for the dodge part, let's see if I can get it right. Okay, so I believe I set 2 animations wrong. So for the left part, as you can see, and for the right one. So let's see what is wrong in here. Let's go in the right dodge and change animation. It seems that I got the spin dodge instead of the backward, the simple one, the dodge right route. And then there is also here for the left one. I think I got the wrong number. Let's see. So yeah, as you can see, I got 7, and 7 is for S, but I want for left, which is 6. So here 6, and let's also go and check for backwards, just in case. Okay, so this is 6 instead of 7. Let's put it in here, make sure that we got the right animation. Okay, and in the left one once again. Okay, so here is the wrong animation, dodge backward. We want to get dodge left. Okay, let's play and let's see if this is now working. So as you can see, now it is indeed working, and for backwards it's working just fine. And this is pretty much everything for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. And also, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to stay up to tuned for new videos. I'm planning to make more these type of parkour mechanics, because I see that people are really interested in these. Like I got the wall jump mechanic, which I got from basically Assassin's Creed as well, and it seems that that one blew up just as well as the wall climbing one. I'm also going to leave probably links down in the description of this video if you want to check those out as well, or perhaps I'm going to leave a card in the top right corner. But other than that, if you want to get the project files for this tutorial, or you got stuck somewhere, you can get the project files over on Patreon for just as little as $1, and you can also support me to improve the quality of my tutorials and to somewhat motivate me. Even though it's not needed, I'm still going to keep making these. And yeah, that being said, thanks for watching, and I'm going to catch you in the next one.